So the Clinton disinformation campaign continues. They got caught lying about the dossier. They got caught lying about rigging the DNC and the primary, which was 100% rigged. We know that now. The entire DNC was being run by the Clinton campaign, and all the money being raised for the DNC and down ballot races were being funneled to Hillary Clinton's campaign. Yes, all the money. So we now know that. So it's unbelievable amount of lying and corruption that they were doing, almost mind-boggling. And yet it doesn't matter. Journalists can't wait to lie for corrupt, warmongering establishment plutocrats like the Clintons. Here's one. Here's Jamil Smith. He's passing around a lie. This is not true. He says, per the actual Clinton deal with the DNC, as reported by Aceidswald, there was no conspiracy. Brazil was wrong. Down in Brazil.
Oh.
Down in Brazil, the person who was running the DNC doesn't know what was happening inside the DNC. She has no idea. You know who does? Some jagoff at NBC. He knows better what was happening. Really. And Jamil Smith will tweet that out, it's false. This is a false story. This talk about fake news. Is Twitter going to try and stop this fake news? How about Facebook? Will they stop this fake news? It comes from NBC. I retweeted that, and I said this lying and gaslighting of the left by the corporate left is the most pathetic, most disappointing, disgusting thing I've seen them do since last week. What'd they do last week? Last week, they tried to gaslight everybody again by saying that, oh, no, it was just normal opposition research. That was fine. Then why'd you lie about it for a whole year? Then why did you lie to congressional investigators about funding the dossier? If it was normal opposition research, why would you lie about it? Because it turns out it's the same thing you've been accusing Donnie Tynahan's Trump of doing. That's what it turns out. That's why you guys lied about it. So that's what they did last week. This week, they're lying about what everyone knows to be true. So now, I think they're taking away a woman of color's agency when they do that. I don't even know what that really means to say that, but it sounds like that's what they're doing, right, Steph?
Absolutely.
Are they taking your woman of color? Why won't they believe a woman of color? It's just disgusting. They're racist, I bet.
Agency. Yes.
Yeah.
I concur.
This is another one. This just in, Clinton DNC deal was exclusively for general election preparations. That's not true. Again, this is fake news. That's not true. And how do I know this is true? Because The Intercept did an article that debunks all that bull. And it says the problem with this claim is that it is blatantly and obviously false. All one has to do to know this is to read the agreement.
Yes.
Unlike the journalists spreading this DNC defense and Clinton campaign defense, that's what journalists are doing. Journalists are literally actively running a propaganda campaign to gaslight Americans. For what? To prop up an unbelievably corrupt organization and a Clinton campaign. That's what journalists are doing. Unlike the journalists spreading this DNC defense, Campaign Legal Center's Brendan Fisher bothered to read it and immediately saw and documented how obviously false this claim is. There's Brendan Fisher. He says, how does anybody believe the DNC Hillary for America memo only applied to the general? Clinton controlled every communication mentioning a primary candidate. They were running everything that happened inside the DNC, including hiring people and what they would say in press releases and communications about all the other candidates. And I don't know if you saw the video where we showed you that they were literally, I don't even want to talk about it. But here's the agreement. And here's what it says. The DNC will provide Hillary for America advance opportunity to review online or mass email communications that features a particular Democratic primary candidate. So in that article, in the agreement, there's also this. They're pointing to this, these fucking propaganda charlatan pushers in the media. They're pointing to this was in the agreement. It says nothing in this agreement shall be construed to violate the DNC's obligation of impartiality and neutrality through the nominating process. All activities performed under this agreement will be focused exclusively on preparations for the general election and not the Democratic primary. So they put that, people are pointing to that. See? Yeah, just because you put that paragraph in there doesn't mean you guys are doing that. In fact,
they would have inserted a winky emoji if they could have.
Yes,
They would have done that.
a winky emoji. That's what they should have. Because that's just so that something they can point to say, see, we weren't doing all the other stuff that we were doing, but you were. So here's how the Intercept explains it. DNC and Clinton allies pointed to the fact that the agreement contained self-justifying lawyer language, claiming that it focused exclusively on preparations for the general, which I just showed you. But as Fisher noted, the passage is contradicted by the rest of the agreement. So you have an agreement that lays out how they're going to rig the primary, and then they put this paragraph at the end saying, oh, by the way, this doesn't screw up anything with our impartiality, even though it does. The whole agreement is about getting rid of the impartiality. This would be like, this is according to The Intercept, this would be like creating a contract to explicitly bribe an elected official. A will pay politician B to vote yes on Bill X. And then adding a throwaway paragraph with a legalistic disclaimer that nothing in this agreement is intended to constitute a bribe. So you could just put that word, so you can put that wording in there. It doesn't mean that that you're actually not doing what you're saying. You're just putting it in there. So you follow, right? Am I explaining this correctly? Okay. And then journalists cited that paragraph to proclaim, and then, this is according to The Intercept, so you put that paragraph in a bribe document, and then you have journalists cite that paragraph to proclaim that no bribe happened, even though the agreement on its face explicitly says the opposite. So that's literally what just happened. So they inserted that paragraph into the agreement rigging the primary that says we're not rigging the primary. So then hack journalists who are lying to Americans then tweet that out and say, see, with doing no investigation whatsoever about the document they're talking about or the actual reality of the situation. And all this is to do what? To gaslight Americans at the defense of the establishment. That's all this is. This is journalism. That's what journalists do in America today. They do red baiting, McCarthyism. We know that they are there just to forward the interests of the plutocrats, the established. Chomsky taught us that, right, Ron? I'm not. You're smarter, you pants, about that stuff than me.
You're a professor, Ron. Go ahead.
Well, yeah, it's almost like when you cherry pick through a document, you can arrange its meaning to mean what you want it to mean. And that's exactly what they're doing here. It makes me think of there was this comedian that I was on the road with a little bit, and he when he would pitch his CD, he wanted to make a bit out of it, as comedians often do when you pitch your CD. And the way he did it was, his joke was, I don't want to report my merch sales on my taxes. So he's like, I'm not actually selling these, but if you want to take one and then leave $5, but I am in no way intending to sell these. That's essentially what this is.
Yes.
Like, at the end, they're like, we're going to do this, but by the way, we're not intending this at all. At the end,
Jimmy, I want to add with Donna Brazil. She says, the funding arrangement, while not illegal, sure looked unethical. And she goes on to say, and that's the whole thing. Oh, this isn't illegal. But she says, if the fight had been fair, one campaign would not have control of the party before the voters had decided which one they wanted to lead. Brazil added, this was not a criminal act, but as I saw it, it compromised the party's integrity.
Yeah, you think?
What?
Yeah,
You think maybe?
Yeah.
I mean, this is horrifying that we're sitting here where we are because of the DNC, because they allowed Clinton to control everything, and that's why we have President Trump.
So that is correct, Steph. That is why we have President Trump. Not because I thought mostly it was because of Susan Sarandon, but turns out is the DNC cheating and rigging the primary for a candidate who was bound to lose, to no matter who they ran against. The The Clinton DNC agreement explicitly vested the Clinton campaign with control over key matters during the primary season, the exact opposite of what journalists on Twitter caused hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people to believe. So that's been happening. Journalists on Twitter spreading fake news in defense of the establishment. Who's doing it? How about pieces of stuff like Howard Dean? Howard Dean says, turns out the memo Donna spoke about applied only to the general election. If so, this memo was standard operating procedure for 15 years. Okay, well, it's not if so. It's not. Again, you're a liar. Howard Dean is a confirmed liar. He's just a bald-faced liar. He doesn't care who he lies to. And he works for one of the biggest lobbying firms in the world right now. And they lobby against Medicare for All. And that's why he's not for it anymore. That's who Howard Dean is. Howard Dean's a coward. Here's Chris Hayes. However, the memo also made clear that the arrangement pertained only to the general election. A big deal. This is Chris Hayes. That's Chris Hayes. Doing straight up propaganda. Straight up. Did you not read the thing that you're tweeting out, Chris? You get paid $30,000 a day, Chris. The least you could do is read the document you're reporting on. $30,000 a day. And you know it's wrong. Chris Hayes knows what he's doing is wrong. He knows he's gaslighting you. And he doesn't give a shit because he's paid $30,000 a day to gaslight you. And he fucking gladly does it. You know, I used to, I used a lot of hyperbole on Chris Hayes on this show. But there is nothing more disgusting than what he's doing now. So he's a he is a scumbag. That is not a good person. What Chris Hayes is doing now is detrimental to our country, our society, our democracy. He's gaslighting people about the truth, about how rigged their election process is. He's lying to people on fucking purpose. He's dumber than me. You think Chris Hayes is dumber than me? He doesn't know better? Is that what it is? I'm smarter than Chris Hayes? I fucking doubt it. What it is I have integrity and I have courage. And that's way more important than intelligence. Integrity and courage, way more important than intelligence. Look what fucking Four Eyes Chris Hayes is doing right here. Look what Mr. Poindexter's doing. He's lying to you at the top of his lungs for fucking money. And that's what he does every goddamn day. This is the guy who said Susan Sarandon was, can you look me in the eye? This is the guy now lying to people. Here's another class act. Keith Olbermann.
Oh, no.
Comes right at a woman of color, calls her a liar. Wow, Donna Brazile managed to end her career 3 times on just one issue.
Ending a career. Pot meet kettle.
Wow.
Coming from Keith Olbermann, the guy who's in a fashion magazine now, doing rants that he literally sounds insane.
Yeah, I mean, his opinion, Ron, put it another way, his opinion is so crazy and stupid that it sounds like, I bet he should be working for a fashion magazine. Oh, wait. He is working for a fashion magazine. That guy, talk about career. All the irony, all the fucking hypocrisy slips right past these motherfuckers. I'm sorry, I shouldn't swear like that. People are getting upset
Jimmy,
when I swear too much.
Aren't you like just so struck by the whole idea that we are Donna Brazile and Keith Olbermann somehow have collided together, and Keith Olbermann reveals himself to be the creep and the condescending, arrogant turd that he is,
yes.
And that it's Donna Brazile. You asked me before this Donna Brazile thing happened, I would have said, no, I'm done with Donna Brazile. I can't support her. I feel like she's a sellout. Oh my God.
So here is Keith Olbermann. I wish he still had a career to end. That would be nice. Here's Julian Assange. The secret Clinton DNC agreement, Donna Brazile proves Donna Brazile right. It's for the general is nonsense. The opposite is true. It specifies September 1st, 2015 commencement, September 11th, appointment of Clinton-picked communications director.
Wow.
October 1st, first cash payment of $1.2 million. March 31st, 2016, termination date. So the agreement went from September 1st, 2015 to March 31st, 2016. And they got to pick the communications director, and the cash started flowing. So this guy says this is how they should have handled it. The right course of action would have been to make the DNC's predicament public in 2015. The predicament that Debbie Wasserman Schultz bankrupted them. That's what they should have made public.
And that they were still paying all the consultants.
And they were still paying all the consultants of Barack Obama's campaign. They're still paying them. They're not supposed to do that in off years. They kept paying all the consultants. And what were those consultants doing that Debbie Wasserman Schultz was paying? Really, the Clinton campaign was paying. You know what they were doing? They were writing negative articles about Bernie Sanders. Did you know that? Yes. Debbie Wasserman Schultz was funneling cash to consultants that she shouldn't have been paying in off year, and they were writing negative articles about Bernie Sanders. Okay. The right course of action would have been to make the DNC's predicament public in 2015, wipe the slate clean going into the primary season, and be done with it. But Hillary and her campaign decided to use Wasserman Schultz's ineptitude to have an outright influence on the DNC. Instead, now both small donors and large donors don't trust the DNC and aren't giving to the organization. Hillary and her campaign fucked the party long term in order to tip the scales in her favor in the primary. That's who's wrecking the Democratic Party. The Hillary Clinton campaign. That's who's wrecking people's confidence in their government. It's not Russia. It's the Hillary Clinton campaign. It's not Russia. It's the Hillary Clinton campaign, which showed that their elections was completely rigged and corrupt. And guess what? DNC enters 2018 in a cash panic. No kidding. People don't want to donate to an organization that's 100% corrupt and lies to them constantly and still is. That's weird. That's weird. Remember when they said this? Remember, so every time you saw Debbie Wasserman Schultz say this.
Well, first of all, let me just reiterate that the Democratic National Committee remains neutral in this primary.
That she's lying. She's lying not to the Russians, not to the Republicans, not to Fox News. Debbie Wasserman Schultz is lying to you, the American voter. She's lying to you, the Democratic voter. She's lying to you, the left, the liberal, the progressive. That's who she's lying to. She's not lying to our enemies. She's lying to us. And it's disgusting. And there should be a price to be paid for this. And the price to be paid is the Democratic National Committee should go away. The Democratic Party should go away. And there should be a third party to rise up to fill it. A progressive party that looks out for workers. That's what should happen. So all those guys know that Donna Brazil's a liar. That's what Keith Olbermann is saying. That's what Howard Dean is saying. That's what all those hacks are saying. Well, let's see what does Elizabeth Warren say?
Very quickly, Senator, do you agree with the notion that it was rigged?
Yes.
Okay. I guess Keith Olbermann's right. I guess Keith Olbermann is right. I guess Chris Hayes is right. And she's lying, right? I guess she's lying, even though we could read the document ourselves. And if Chris Hayes, if you read that document and you still tweeted that out, you're a scum. And if you didn't read that and you tweeted that out, you're an incompetent scum. You're a lazy scum. You're a hack, lazy hack scum. That's what Chris Hayes is. And he knows I'm right. And he doesn't give a shit. Just like Debbie Wasserman Schultz doesn't give a shit, Chris Hayes doesn't give a shit that he's lying to you, that he's wrong, that he's propping up a corrupt establishment. They don't give a shit, which is why people get their news from YouTube. Please make sure you subscribe. They're making it hard for people to find our videos, so you have to subscribe and ring that bell or click the bell next to it so we get a notice every time we drop a video. Our next live Jimmy Dore show is December 4th in Burbank, California, November 20th in Hollywood, California. Link for tickets right there. Thanks for your support.